Thank you for listening to The Lawyer's Daughter. This is Jen Carroll, and this podcast does not have any video. I know I'm on YouTube, but that doesn't matter. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast here. Let's go get started. Hello, my friends. It's August 26th, and as they say, and I just Googled this because I didn't know, it is the dog days of August. At least it is here in Santa Cruz. We have a heat wave, and I went and looked it up, and it turns out that the dog days of August was based on the Romans, when Sirius up in the sky would appear just before the sun near the end of July. That marked the beginning of the very hottest days of the year, and the Romans referred to this period as dies caniculares, or days of the dog star, which was eventually translated as just dog days. And of course, then it just meant the dog days of summer or the dog days of August. And we're there. It is almost the last week of August. Yeah, you can't add 7 to 26, can you? You're going to flip it. You're going to flip into the next. So I guess it must be Labor Day on Monday, or maybe it's another week. I haven't looked at the calendar. I've been too busy working on this podcast. And I want to catch people up on a couple things because I started it yesterday and I mentioned Pavel Durov. I called him Durov. I said there was an arrest in France. And I just wanted to really quickly tell you, in today's blog, there's a link to everything that's going down with this Pavel Durov. A poster whose name I tried to learn how to say, Yaroslav Ashnyuk. I think he's in Ukraine, but he has done a breakdown on what's the big deal about Pavel Durov. I have a link to his Twitter thread as well, so you can go look at all this. You actually probably need to really sit with it a minute because it's complicated, but let me see if I can net this out and why it's so important. There is a platform called Telegram. It is, as I understand, encrypted, except this is the thing that's really interesting. It's not end-to-end encryption. It's essentially, I'll say this is my way of explaining it, so do not look for this out there in explanations, but it's, if you imagine, every time they pass the baton, so think of data, the little message you wrote, as a baton. And it has to move from your device to the server, for the first server, then it moves to other servers as it gets to the person you want it to get to. Sometimes it gets posted in this case. Sometimes because it's an encrypted service, it's got to go through its encryption into a private channel. So as that data moves at the handoff points where the baton is passed from one to another, that is not encrypted. So as I understand the situation, Telegram has been used for a long time now. Everybody knows it for horrible, horrible things. It's used for, let me see, I've got it right here from his post. The search warrant was issued because Durov, now he is the CEO of Telegram. That's why his name's in play. And he is in France, and apparently he turned himself in. And the rumor, I do not have anything that proves this is true. The rumor is he feared for his life, because he deals with the Russians all the time. And let me tell you what they do on Telegram. The detention and search warrant was issued because Durov did not cooperate with French security forces and did not properly moderate Telegram. Got it right there. Listen to this. Did not properly moderate Telegram. In France, they have different laws than they have in America. And we may say free speech, but of course we've compromised our free speech all over the place. In the spirit of free speech, we've actually kind of, created a mess. But in Europe, they're very clear. You cannot allow people to talk about drug trafficking, terrorism, money laundering, child abuse, child trafficking. It goes on. You understand now. Are you caught up with me? But here's the deal. It's not just all that criminality. It's also nation-state criminality, meaning leaders of countries and their associates, for lack of a better word, leaders and their associates have been using Telegram for some time, and apparently massively in Russia. So this is what we're seeing now. So this is what's interesting. So now that Durov has been arrested, what we're seeing now is a sharply negative reaction from the right-wing users starting with, get this. This is important, guys. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I buried the lead. They used Telegram for January 6th. This is how the coup people were able to talk to each other and plan January 6th and really have a lot of secrecy because they were using Telegram, this encrypted app that's not 100% encrypted. That's the most delicious part when I say it. I just squee a little bit in delight because the only reason these people get to pull off this crap is this evil secrecy. So to think that they're using these tools and that maybe they are being hoisted on their own petard, as it said, is nice. So what we're seeing now is a sharp negative reaction from users like Elon Musk. These are people who hang out on Telegram. Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, who are joined by some others that I don't know, and they're all ganging up on this is all free speech. This is free speech. Here's the thing. Here's the deal with free speech. You have the right to free speech in America. You absolutely do. But when you're doing it secretly and when you're plotting and doing things that are legal, like you're not supposed to be talking to other government leaders, that's not a thing you can do in America. You can't just go hang out and go discuss foreign policy. You can meet them and all that, but you just cannot be influencing things like Tucker and like Elon like to do. So anyway, they are all failing to mention that these allegations of trafficking and terrorism and nation-state attacks is all there. So I want you to pay attention to this because it's one of the ways we keep losing our democracy is when people decide to use the things, cool things that our smart people have built, they use them for the wrong purpose. So that's just some news updates. I want to give you that because now I thought a lot about there's two more cool news things. These are the exciting ones because we're all working so hard. So there is a woman who was who's on Twitter. Wait, I want to end with that one. Who is talking about what has happened since the convention. Her name's Katia Goba. You have a link to her at the bottom of the blog. But she had this memo that she put out, and it just made everybody really happy yesterday. So far, the convention week raised $82 million for a total of $540 million since the Harris launch. Guys, that's almost $500 million. Again, we could talk about, that's a lot of money that's not spent on anything like that produces an outcome other than it protects our democracy. I guess it's a good investment. And 1/3 of last week's donations, guys, 1/3 were from first-time contributors. We are making it happen. You are making it happen. And then this last one, which I just love because I've talked about this so much, volunteers have signed up for nearly 200,000 shifts. SHIFTS, shifts. Volunteers are coming out of the woodwork. I know that's you too. And I'm so excited. And so that's the last thing that I wanted to end with was Propane Jane. She is a firecracker. You can choose to follow her, not on Twitter if you're on Twitter, but really what she came down to, and there's this discussion going on, but no matter what, turnout is the key for this election. So as we learn about what we can do as volunteers in the campaign, how we can participate in the campaign, and why this is so important, fundamentally, 1, make sure you're registered to vote. 2, make sure your registration is still active and hasn't been taken away from you. And then number 3 is that we have to get out the vote. We need 70% turnout, preferably 75%. And especially we need the 18 to 29s, which means every one of you that knows 18 to 29s, find out what they're doing. Find out how they're thinking. Make sure they're registered. Make sure they're engaged. There's so many ways for them to get excited about this. So see what you can do to get them engaged. So that's the big deal. And those are the little headlines I wanted to start with today before I get into the podcast. And the reason, and I chose today, it's day 72, meaning we have 72 days left, guys, to get this done. 72 days. That seems like both a lot of podcasts that I need to record and not much time at all. 72 days is 2 months. It's not so much time. So today we're going to talk about down-ballot campaigns because you are critical in the success of the down-ballot campaigns. And I've tried to pull out some of the most important things you need to know and who to watch. Because that's the other thing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm barely able to function at the big level. Now I've got to pay attention to the lower level. But you'll see it there. You'll see what I'm talking about. So usually, so now formally begin the podcast. So when we think about elections, we usually think about presidential races or big Senate battles, but we don't think a lot about the down ballot races, those in our local and state elections. They don't always make headlines. It's harder to get information about them. You have to really focus on who you follow or where you sign up for information. But they're really crucial roles that help shape the future of our democracy. So they may not have the glitz and glamour of a presidential cane, but trust me, their impact is just as significant. And I will tell you, I worked on a remarkably local campaign. We were in my friend Lisa's studio in the back of her house. She happens to have one of those ADUs, or mother-in-law quarters, we used to call them. And this campaign was, oh my God, I was not in any sort of leadership role. I was there merely as a volunteer, so I had to keep my mouth quiet because I thought it was a disaster. And it really but that's kind of the sweetness of it, right? Because I can come in and I've worked for huge companies, so I know about massive infrastructure and I know how to do things at a massive scale. But then when you're doing something that's just like in your community and there's just community people at the table and they don't have your life experience and they don't know how to proceed in a way that you might do it, it's kind of fun and it's crazy. And I believe it involved a lot of eating and drinking, which is always a good thing too, is socializing. So I like all that. And we lost. Get that? We lost. And I'm not sure that it wasn't a bad thing, actually. Sometimes in a local election, it's so hard to really understand the job and the people. So it's a really good way to get involved. And I'm telling you, it's fun. Don't take it seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. I think that's the point. Anyway, down ballot races matter a lot because the stakes are higher than you think. And I love this pull quote. I just pulled this one because it's just so suck it. Suck it, but suck it for whoever wins. I mean, the winner gets to say suck it. That's just the thing you get to say. Hopefully you say it quietly and to yourself and with your family and friends. But, So in 2009, President Obama said, this is after he won, elections have consequences. And at the end of the day, I won. And that is really how it works. And I have to say that Obama needed to say that because it was just that's when the hijinks were just starting. So what are down ballot races? These are the contests for seats in the Senate. So that's probably the highest down ballot race is the Senate. If you think of these hierarchically, the House of Representatives would be next. There are only 2 senators from every state. There are handfuls of House representatives from every state, depending on how many electors you have. So you have state legislatures. Those are our leaders within our states who make the rules for our states. So when you have an abortion law that's just for your state, that came from your state legislature. And you should really think about how much you want to know about your own state legislature. It's a little tiring, but it's important. And that is actually a role that you could get involved with if you wanted to really influence a change in your state. Focusing on your state legislatures is the way to go. And then, of course, there's the local offices in our local municipalities, our cities, our towns, our counties, those kind of things. Senators run every 6 years. So they kind of get installed and then they can actually chug away and start to really look at doing long-term legislation because they're 6 years. The House members are up for election every 2 years. These races are frequent and essential and exhausting. Based on how our government works, I didn't know. I didn't know it was every 2 years. I thought it was layered for some reason. I don't know why. So the real power comes from aligning these lower level offices with the executive and legislative branches of our government. And what that means is just essentially the more agreement you have on the general worldview, the faster you're likely to have successful legislation and be able to create changes that will help us all. So just imagine if you have people with very different worldviews fighting, hello, America, it's exhausting. But if you can start to at least agree on worldviews, like all Democrats, and again, that's broad, but just at least that worldview of positivity, inclusivity, and lifting people up. If you share that imagine how much that helps us make change. That's why we look for this kind of alignment. when the branches weren't aligned, like at the top, when we've had problems where the branches weren't aligned, like during the Obama administration, interesting. He said that in 2009. By 2010, through the end of his presidency in 2016, the Republicans controlled the House and eventually the Senate. And that split made it challenging to pass legislation, especially those around immigration reform and climate change. And then, of course, there was the whole Supreme Court and judge appointment crap that was going on with Merrick Garland's Supreme Court nomination, which was blocked by Republican-controlled Senate in 2016. So this is bad. I mean, this is what happens. It's bad if, well, let me say, I'm not going to say it's universally bad. It's complicated. It used to not be so bad. That's all I can say. And I don't want to go back. I just want people to knock it off. It used to be less bad because you wouldn't see a stunt like Mitch McConnell pulled where he wouldn't even bring a candidate to the floor of the Senate to be reviewed for nomination. That's usually how it works. He just wouldn't do it. And then, of course, when the Trump presidency and the Republican majority in the Senate led to the confirmation of 3 Supreme Court justices, fundamentally shifting the balance of the court. That's a really good example of why not having alignment can really be a problem. Also bad behavior. I'm just going to call it. And also really, really, really shitty bad behavior on behalf of Mitch McConnell, who behaved like a real horse's ass. He took an oath. He has a responsibility, and he didn't do it. I swear to God, he buckled to money. But that's been his MO, right? That's why one of the reasons we need to get some of these people in these down-ballot elections and flip some of these seats. Okay, so key component to this down-ballot thing is grassroots fundraising. And the Democratic Party is really invested in this. And it's one of the reasons why the fundraising seems relentless, because it's more than just collecting money. As we've talked about, that grassroots fundraising connotes broad support. If you're willing to give $3, and I'm telling you, you do not have to give a lot of money. You just need to give a little bit to show that you're in. So here's an example. This is how the Democrats have turned this into their machine. When the thousands of Americans chip in these little amounts, the candidates have legitimate backing from the people, not just wealthy donors. And this support fuels the campaigns of countless local and state candidates. In past elections, these investments in key districts had led to significant wins. For example, I don't know if you remember, but in 2018, and we did mobilize the youths, so we need to get young people going too, but in the 2018 midterms, known for the blue wave, saw Democrats flip 41 seats in the House. Every 2 years, that House of Representatives can floopity-flop, can just totally change its personality. 41 seats in the House, many which were down ballot, funded and supported by the party, gave rise to people like, and I can't believe it's only been 2018, and yet, damn, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the New York's 14th district, and Katie Porter in California's 45th. Those kind of people who we got from that kind of blue wave. Amazing. I mean, those 2 women in particular have just done such an amazing job of pointing out where we're inconsistent in our democracy, where we're doing things that don't make sense. So I appreciate that so much. So here's the deal. We have 5 swing states. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was counting 4, but I feel like there's 5. Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So let's look at the Senate races, and we're also going to look at the House races. And I'm just going to mention them because I feel like if you have them in your head, you could potentially reboost their message. You could potentially talk. If you live there, you could definitely make a huge difference in these races. So I just wanted to get it in front of you and have you start to think about it. And I found in doing the research yesterday, I was really interested in who some of these people are and how they're coming at this. And I, of course, have seen so many ads. I hang out on Twitter, unfortunately, a lot. You notice I still call it Twitter. Yeah. Okay. But I just like it because I followed so many good people. So that's my problem right now. Here we go. Let's take a look at who's out there and see if these people sound familiar and see if you know know what's going on. So a big race in Arizona. Arizona is always a hot state because it can go either way. And we have Ruben Gallego, who spoke at the convention. He's a progressive voice. But here's the deal in Arizona. This is one cluster. And guys, what are you guys doing down there? Holy smokes. It's not as if it's hot enough for you and everything else in Arizona. I love Arizona, especially love the mountainy areas. Gorgeous. And I have family in Arizona. But I got to say, how are we having a three-way race? And look at what this, I feel really bad for Ruben. We have Carrie Lake, who he's running against. She's just special. I don't even know. Just special. She's the Sarah Palin of Donald Trump's. I don't know. So gross. And, of course, incumbent Senator Kristen Sinema, who I don't get. So I'm just going to leave that over there. It's a three-way race. So it's super competitive. And this is a big deal because we've got Gallego as the progressive, Trump as the conservative, and Sinema as the centrist, which is a joke because she's not a centrist. She's a nut. But so is Carrie. So, I mean, Arizona, we love you. Let's do this. Okay, in Florida, looking at you now, Florida. Once you recover from the rain and the muck and the humidity and holy crap, whatever else is going on down there, Debbie Mucarsel. Why don't I know? Debbie Powell. I'm just saying it. Debbie Powell is challenging Rick Scott. So Debbie Powell's the Democrat. Rick Scott is the Republican, and he's the incumbent. He's that guy. For those of us not in Florida, he's that really tall, bald guy with the very pointy face who looks a lot like a psychopath. He looks crazy. He is responsible for, from what I understand, there's a lot of shady dealings for this Rick Scott guy. And I don't know why Florida always likes to vote for criminals. The Republicans vote for criminals, but come on. So Debbie is very pro-healthcare, gun control, and wants to unseat Scott. But, of course, Scott is a Trump ally and also a former Florida governor. Guys, I just don't get it. So, Democrats of Florida, stand up and be counted. You people have the chance to turn Florida at least purple and possibly bring Debbie to the Senate. So, let's do it. Now we're looking at you, Missouri, because you got a fun one going on. And this is for all of you that are not in Missouri and don't know. This is where Senator Josh Hawley is trying to get reelected. You know, that man who is, okay, I'm not supposed to say weird, but he's just weird. The kiss with his wife, I raise my hand to the insurrectionists and I run from them when they come from me. He's just not a real person. I don't know what else to say. Lucas Kunce, this is a Democrat running against good old Josh Hawley. He's a Marine veteran. Kick ass. Take that, Josh Hawley. And advocating for working class Americans. So here's the deal. Kunce is running as a populist, focusing on economic fairness and fighting for the everyday Missourian. And Hawley is a staunch Trump ally, and he's seeking re-election in a state that's trending Republican. But I believe Kunce's grassroots support and the enthusiasm in Missouri could get Lucas over the line because Josh Hawley, I'm not sure, but I don't even think he lives in Missouri. I don't know how he's running there, and I don't know why Missouri would want him to represent them. I don't even know if he's done any legislation, this guy. He's just an empty suit, but he's making bank. He's getting paid while you people are not getting represented. So there you go. In Missouri, let's rise up. Missouri, let's do this. Let's elect Lucas Kunce. In Montana, one of my favorites, because I just know I could hang out with him and his wife, John Tester is trying to get reelected. Montana, this man has got your back. This man believes in his fellow neighbors and his fellow Montanans. And if you don't think that's true, you need to go out and start talking. This new guy, Matt Rosendale, is a Trump ally. And I don't care anymore about this Trump ally crap, Montana. It's not helping you. You are not being served. Every time somebody comes on as a Trump ally, they might as well just say, I'm here because I'm about me and what I can get out of this. And this Matt Rosendale guy is going to sell you guys out. It's going to happen. I promise you. It is not worth it for you to have an anti-abortion law and not be able to get things that you need for your state to help everyone. You've got to decide. Make better choices, Montana. Make better choices and keep John Tester. John Tester is your guy, and Montana is one beautiful, incredibly gorgeous state with the people that I know, and then I know, but then I probably know libs, right? Woke people. It's a state that we need to fight for. So let's go. Let's go get John Tester reelected. Okay, Montana? That's your job. And however you need to influence, lean on us that aren't in your state. If you need us to help with something, let us know. I know they're talking about trying to get Tim Walz to Montana. We need to make that happen. So if anybody's connected to Tim Walz, he's got to go see John Tester in Montana. These boys, oh, they would have a damn good time together. Now, I did this in alphabetical order. You're going to figure that out because I'm looking at you, Nevada. Jackie Rosen wants to go back to the Senate, and Jim Marchant is another Trump candidate. And I'm so pissed that Trump has so many morons that want to follow him, because the thing is, anytime somebody says they're for Trump, they're not for you. I could not be more clear. And if you do not believe me, if you think I'm just full of crap, that's fair. But just go look it up. Just go ask some hard questions. Go on to Bing and ask your co-pilot what the heck anyone who's aligned with Trump has done for their states. They have not helped the electorate. So Nevada, you've got to keep Jackie Rosen in office, and you've got to help her. Let's go. She only has a slight edge right now, and we need to make this stronger. So use some of this Harris Wells excitement and bring it to Nevada. Plus, I like Nevada. It's my neighbor. Okay, now, let's head over to JD country. Let's go back over to Ohio. That's me pretending like I'm taking a walk across the country over to Ohio, where the dear sweet, holy crap, how do you guys have somebody so amazing as Sherrod Brown? He's seeking to be reelected. This is the man who speaks about the dignity of work. And I have never, when I first heard him talk about that, the dignity of work, it is like, it is so exactly perfect. Because I always talk about teenagers, and one of the issues teenagers have all the time is the feeling of no agency. They don't believe they can make a difference. We used to have ways for kids to engage. We had clubs and service organizations. Remember, there was like Interact Club, and that was like a Rotary Junior kind of club. And we had real student government where students made laws and passed things. Now student government is events. So when you hear what teenagers need is agency. Frankly, that's what seniors need too. Anybody who doesn't feel like they have agency feels kind of shitty. They don't feel like they deserve to be here. They feel like they might be taking up space. And so when Sherrod was so apt in saying the dignity of work, his characterization is perfect, because when you are working, you do have a certain kind of dignity because you're wanted and you're contributing. He's running against a challenger, Frank LaRose, who was Ohio's Secretary of State and a rising star in the GOP. But Brown isn't. But let me see. While Brown is advocating for workers' rights and economic justice, he is hanging on here with Ohio's worker class voters. That's Sherrod. But we're really worried because there's been this right-wing, authoritarian approach, and this Frank LaRose guy has credentials. He was the Ohio Secretary of State. But can he relate to the electorate in the same way? And I'm going to tell you, if you vote greedy, because I want mine and I don't care about anybody else, you're going to get what you deserve. You just are. And it doesn't go well for you in the long term. Again, go look at how some of these things work out long term. There is no such thing as trickle-down economics. I mean, there is a thing. You can talk about it, but it doesn't work. All right, let's head over to Pennsylvania. I'll speed it up a little bit, but I'm very excited because in Pennsylvania, we have Bob Casey, who is the incumbent, defending his seat against Dave McCormick. This guy, oh my God, is a red flag for Jen. Just throw it, go ahead, put it right in front of me like I'm a bull in the ring. He is a former hedge fund manager with substantial resources. Really? A sorry, I could speak before I got Invisalign. A hedge fund manager typically always has substantial resources. Their job is to manage spreadsheets. We've talked about this. This is one of my rants. Hedge fund managers do not help the economy. They just don't. So poor Bob Casey's fighting against a man who has a track record of not helping the economy. Bob Casey's a well-known figure with a lot of deep ties, but he is facing a tough challenge because there are substantial resources, right? So Pennsylvania, I know you guys are working hard. I see you all everywhere. Pennsylvania has some of the most dedicated campaign workers I've ever seen. That you guys show up in everything. You're just always on TV. So keep it going. Go get Bob Casey reelected. In Texas, way down south, we've got Colin Allred, Texas. You guys are heartbreakers, man. And I'm singing to the choir. Y'all have had your hearts broken too. I get so excited. I go back to Ann Richards, right? I'm old. I remember Ann Richards. She was one of those women when I was growing up that I was like, damn, she has it. That's how you do it. Look at her. I just loved Ann Richards. She had that sense of humor that I really identify with. So here we are. And then they got Beto. We had Beto O'Rourke, and I got so excited. And there's been others. Y'all, come on. We are so close. Colin Allred is a Democrat running for Ted Cruz's seat. Roll your eyes. Make that icky sound. That's what I do in my head. Allred is a former NFL linebacker, but he became a civil rights attorney, and he strongly advocates for healthcare access, veterans affairs, and economic equality. Cruz, well, I don't, Cruz is just, I feel like Cruz is the guy who came to the party and frickin' will not leave. You know him. He just sits over there and you want him to go, and other people are like, well, he's not hurting anything. And like, no, he really is. It's not just that he's taking up space. Everybody that goes over and talks to him comes away sadder, just a bit sadder. So yeah, Ted, it's time to go. I don't even know what you aspire to. I have no idea what you stand for. You're just, ugh. So Colin, we got to get Colin elected. Let's all head over to Virginia, where Tim Kaine is running for re-election against Winsome Sears. Winsome, Winsome, Sears, like the store. That was Virginia's lieutenant governor and a strong conservative voice. Tim is known for his experience in foreign relations, his education and healthcare reform, and he's a respected figure in Virginia politics. But money, baby. This is all coming down to money. This race is a lot about money. And money just means more airtime to air commercials, to fight allegations, to fight assertions made by the other candidate, to fund events so they can get out of the road, to buy more signs, to pay for volunteers to have water and food when they're at events. All those things. Money matters. So if you're in Virginia, look around, see if there's something you do to help Tim Kaine. And at the same time, of course, then also look Down-Ballot. And then finally in Wisconsin in the Senate, Tammy Baldwin is running against Eric Hovde. This guy just joined the race. That's how much meh is going on in Wisconsin, guys. Meh. And this guy's a Donald Trump guy. They just put him in coach because this guy, I hope he just ends up shagging balls somewhere over in the dugout, but we need to make sure Tammy Baldwin wins against this big guy with money. He's a wealthy businessman, guys. That's what they do every time. They just go get somebody with money and try to buy an election. Well, guys, I want you to fight on principle, fight for what you believe in, and go help Tammy Baldwin. Now, I'm going to do these a lot faster because, I want to talk to you about the House too. I'm just that annoying, but this is important. Like I said, I want to put these in your head so you can speak to them if you need to, and also know where to come if you need what I'm talking about. It's in the blog. You can always come back here and source it and go, what was that name or what was the race? All right. So really quick on the House races, and I just picked some critical ones. In fact, I don't even have that many. It looks like I have about 7. So here we go. These are the races. Let me emphasize this over and over again. All the races matter. These are the races that are getting a lot of attention. And if you happen to be in these states if you happen to be the states, get on board. If you happen to be in districts, go help. So in Alabama's 2nd district, this is a newly dawned, this is my favorite one. This is one I got my eye on, guys. That's all I got to say. Cause this is my Shomari guy, right? practically related. In Alabama's 2nd District, this is a newly drawn district that emerged from a federal lawsuit over congressional maps. So there was very bad gerrymandering in Alabama. So Shomari Figures is the Democrat facing Caroline Dobson in the general election. Here's what's interesting. The district is near majority black and was created to increase black representation, and it leans Democratic, but the Republicans are coming in with money. Guys, we need a Democrat in Alabama. We need Shomari Figures there. I want you to follow him. I want you to do what you can to support this man. And let's go get about Alabama. Let's go get that 2nd district. In California, in the 22nd district, California. This is the one we need to watch. It's the Central Valley. And if anybody knows California, here's how it works, just like America. We have the edges, which is the coast, and everything, every place you know, like San Diego, Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Santa Cruz, Crescent City, all the way up. You have the coast and you have the mountains, and those tend to be more liberal. Well, not the foothills. And then you have the valleys and the foothills, and those tend to be a little less liberal. So this is in the Central Valley, which is Central Valley. You might think of Bakersfield or Fresno, tends to be very red for California. And Rudy Salas, a Democrat, is challenging David Valadao. And this one's really a toss-up. And I have to say, I don't know either candidate. So in the 22nd District, Democrats, you're probably working your butts off. Keep going. We got you. We see you. And we appreciate your hard work. In Texas' 15th District, this is the parts of South Texas. Michelle Vallejo, who is a Democrat. And you guys probably say it differently down there. I don't know. It's funny because when it comes to Hispanic names, I've found that out west here, we tend to westernize Spanish words in the same way we do. I mean, it's Westerners, we say it flat, right? So there's a town called Los Gatos if you are saying it in Spanish, but it's Los Gatos if you say it in Californian. So there you go. So I might butcher these names because I have that California. Ugh. Anyway, Michelle Vallejo is progressive. It has a progressive campaign, and she's challenging the incumbent. So this is in the 15th District of Texas, Monica de la Cruz. And this one, this is a one to save. Texas 15th District, Florida's 13th District. I love when we talk about districts because I'm like, I don't know what district I'm in right now. I have no freaking idea. Maybe one of the big takeaways here is we should probably all know our districts. I never know until I look at my ballot. I'm like, oh, look at that. I'm in a district. So the 13th District includes parts of Tampa Bay. Anna Paulina Luna is aligned with Trump, but Eric Lynn needs your votes. So in the 13th District, look for Eric Lynn in the Tampa area. This is a big deal. And then in New York's 19th, covering the Hudson Valley and the Catskills, Pat Ryan is the incumbent defending his seat against Mark Molinaro. Yep, we need you. This race is a really important race. And then in Pennsylvania's 7th, this is in the Lehigh Valley. Susan Wild, the Democrat, is facing off again against Lisa Schiller. And so we've got to go make sure that Susan Wild is the winner. So here's the deal. We have to mobilize, not just ourselves, but our friends and our neighbors to win these down ballot races. Part of it is knowing your down ballot races and being okay talking about them. We have a donut store just down the street from me, and it's the donut. It's not JD's donut store. This is the donut store that everybody knows because a lot of the old guys and some of the old women too, and I mean old, like probably 70 and older, go there every morning to have coffee and whatever their treat is and to talk shit. I mean, like the good kind of talking shit, right? Like it's the next day and they talk about what happened in the news or what are you thinking? And they probably all know each other. But I feel like that's where we should be showing up, is in those kinds of spaces where it's just relaxed and we can gently bring up points. So grassroots mobilization, which is us, it's getting our community engaged and activated. Volunteering for voter outreach, phone banking, all the things we talk about. But every conversation you have can matter. And you don't have to be a zealot. We're not all zealots. I'm a bit of a zealot, but my family knows and they contain me. So There is something cool you can do, and I didn't even realize this existed till I started doing the research yesterday, so it's kind of a well-kept secret. There is the legal defense, the Democratic, in all my zeal to cut down words, I cut down the long form of their name, but it's Democratic League Down-Ballot Defenders, and it's a coalition of monthly donors, and I swear to God, it can be a little bit, dedicated to expanding and defending Democratic majorities and loosening the GOP's grip on our state houses. So there's a link to these Down-Ballot Defenders. If you want to go Google it, if you have any memory left, Down-Ballot Defenders. The program offers a sustained monthly commitment to the cause, and membership has some perks. Like, they actually have figured out a way to give you some insights and perks for becoming a down-ballot defender. So if you don't know how to do it any other way but to automate it, there you go. That's it. That counts. That counts as being involved. And then, of course, well, here's what I was just talking about. This is the problem when you write it, I know what's coming. So put your passion into action and live your support. This is about using your voice, your passion, your enthusiasm, and your point of view. And honest to goodness, your point of view is probably some of the most important part of this thing. If you're being sincere and not acting like somebody showing up on my front door and telling me about your religion, that's just never going to influence me. But if you came and said, hi, here's my name, here's what's happened to me, and here's why I'm standing on your doorstep right now. Once you make it personal, and I wouldn't, if I'm door knocking, I would do it the way they tell you to do it. But I mean, in your personal life, when you're living your support, you being honest about why you're doing what you're doing is very attractive. So don't forget to do that. And then, of course, there's the little things like the sign on the lawn and wearing your shirt around town. Just your shirt can provoke conversation. Talking to people at the grocery store. I always put that in there because that's, so me. Every little bit helps. There's also social media, still a powerful tool. It really is, especially if you're representing yourself. If you say, I am backing this because when it happened to me, this is what happened. Those stories are meaningful. So any way you can personalize this race and make it authentic to you, and to think of the word I wanted to use, but it's really about authenticity, right? Your authenticity shines through. Your ability to tell your story and why you are excited about this. That is so powerful. And that's some of what's missing a lot today. I mean, let's face it. I have to be authentic in this podcast. I'm doing this as an act of love, right? I get excited about doing this. I don't know why. Some kind of weird person that I am. But I really care about sharing this information. And I feel like this is a really good way I can contribute. So if you're listening, you probably know that about me. And that's probably the reason you come back, because I can't figure out why you're coming back. No, I do. I appreciate the crap out of you coming back. I really do. But sometimes, when that imposter syndrome creeps in and you're like, what? But the thing is, I think for sure I'm authentic. I am like scary authentic. I'm probably too authentic. But that's what makes people engage. And that's why you're powerful as a campaign volunteer in whatever capacity. Your authenticity can be so powerful, especially, guys, if with younger people. They really are looking for people they can trust to help guide them. I don't mean go tell them what to do. I mean, listen to them, have cool conversations, engage. It's super fun to listen to our youth and find out how they think about things and realize how different their experience was growing up. It just was so different than ours. Okay, finally, it's your job to go find your down ballot candidates. Your ballot, your sample ballot should be coming really soon. I'm going to talk about just some kind of benchmarks that happen in a campaign. We're coming into September, so we're at a critical time. This week, Democrats are going to try to recover from COVID. I want them all to rest a long time. If you were at the convention and you got COVID, please go all the way through Labor Day. Just do all of your campaigning online right now. Yeah, just do some messaging, do some writing, do some thinking and planning. But we need you to rest. We need all the COVID people to get healthy, because there were a lot of us and them and you. And we also had Milwaukee and we've been blowing the doors off of showing up in public. So wear your mask, get better from COVID. And then this thing, we're going to pass some milestones here, and I want to talk about those. But one is to get your ballot. You might be able to see it online. should be coming in the mail very shortly. It's your sample ballot, and that's how you'll really figure out your down ballot races. You can find your districts. All kinds of cool things come with that sample ballot. You also should get a voter. In California, we get a voter guide. I believe every state probably has some sort of guide or handbook or something that they publish that goes with your sample ballot to help you understand the issues. That's another amazing tool. So look for those. Those will help you also know your down ballot races. And I'm going to encourage everybody to go get motivated. You are motivated to go do something. That's what we want to do. We want to end with our Michelle Obama, do something. Don't bitch. Don't complain. Don't get frustrated. We're going to do this. I just know it. Just know it. We're on a mission from God. Talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Make sure you subscribe and rate, and I'll be back with another episode really soon.